here. It is February 13th. I'm raging against the internet right now. So let me just go ahead and fix one thing if I can. I can't. I don't know where my button is. There we go. Boom. Now that's better. Much better. Welcome, everyone. It is February 13th. Welcome to the Ignition News. I'm a bit salty this morning. I feel like I'm floating in a lake of salt, rising above the fascism. But unfortunately, as a result, I have become salty. Let's cleanse it then, if we will, like a Himalayan salt bath, a cave cleansing the evil fascism. Exorcise the demons. Let us go. There we go. I found it. Welcome, everyone, to the Ignition News. It is February 13th. Have some important stories today, some reflections. And I just want to say thank you for joining along. I want to take a little bit of a brief moment to just check really quickly here. I'm going to go over to Spotify and find out if you subscribed or not. I'm looking right at you. Let's go. This is like the test at school. Did someone go over to Spotify or Substack or Apple Podcasts? This is a papers down moment, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, there we go. We got a new review. Thank you over on Substack. Got a review on Spotify and another review on Apple Podcasts. Oh, not so bad. See, now I'm not so crabby. Let's get into the news, everyone. Welcome to the Ignition News. We like to get together and go through the top 4 or 5 stories of the day to give you a little bit of heads up without the genocide denial and without the breaking news amygdala hijack, and then give you that toolkit, that information that you can use to push back against fascism. It's so great that you're here. I really just want to give a big shout out to our friends over on Substack. I love to see the Substack crew going. Sorry, but let's get into that. We've got 4 stories today to talk about. The first story is actually the president's declining health. So you probably saw this on Wednesday. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but Trump, the president, who is 79 years old, was giving a speech celebrating himself as the, quote, undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal when his brain literally just stopped working in real time. He started slurring and he kind of glitched out. Here's what came out of his mouth. He said, "I'm proud to officially name the undisputed," and then he just had this like unintelligible gibberish for about 2 seconds. And then he deferred to Mike Johnson. This is, of course, not the first time. Trump's slurring has become more pronounced, and his word salad has become more pronounced during even the most simple questions. His visible physical decline with his discolored, rotting hands when he tries to cover up that with makeup, and his awkward descents downstairs. When asked for comment, the White House said Trump is, quote, the sharpest, most accessible, energetic president in American history. That is gaslighting, ladies and gentlemen. And it's the same playbook that they used when we've watched him struggle through his cognitive decline over the last several years. And what I would simply ask you today is one simple thing. Go watch a video from 2016 or even 2010. This is an entirely different human being. His cognitive health is rapidly declining. And we have to start asking questions. Who is actually controlling what is happening in America right now? A cognitively declining 79-year-old who occasionally gets up, walking around, starts looking out the window in the middle of important meetings? Now, and for those of you who, of course, say, Joe Biden, why he went around with 2 pairs of pants, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no shit. Exactly. Perhaps we should be leading this country with people who can drive without failing the DMV test, people that can get through a simple sentence without slurring or glitching. Yes. The old people have unfortunately had control in this country for too long, and they have built up a system where challenging them simply because of their age is, I don't know, discrimination. Is that what they say it is now? But the fact of the matter is, if you can't pass the driving test, you should not be behind the Oval Office desk, the Resolute desk. This is national security. This is important. There's no question about whether the president is experiencing cognitive decline anymore. This is not even a question. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is, what are we going to do about it? This is the most powerful person in the world glitching out. Do you remember when this happened to John McCain? I would ask you to think about John McCain. Do you remember that Senate hearing? John McCain glitched. And then how fast, and anyone who's had cognitive decline in your family, you know this. You can see the signs. We can't ignore the truth. That's the thing. This is why we have the Ignition News. You cannot ignore the truth in front of your very own eyes. It's important. And that's what they're asking us to do now. They're asking us to ignore what we see with our own eyes or what we read about or hear about. Let's get into the second story. We've been talking a lot about this scandal that's happening with Tulsi Gabbard. We know that Tulsi Gabbard is working overtime to hide some kind of report from a whistleblower. Now we're learning more details about this. Well, obviously, Trump's brain is turning to mush. His son in law, Jared Kushner, I asked who's in charge of things. Remember, I asked this question. Jared Kushner is now in the middle of this massive intelligence scandal with Tulsi Gabbard. It's a report that has been suppressed for 8 months. Last spring, a national security agency intercepted a conversation between two foreign nationals who were discussing Jared Kushner. The conversation included allegations about Kushner that U.S. officials familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal would be significant if verified. And the conversation was apparently partially about Iran. Now, we don't know where the foreign nationals were from. We do not know exactly what they said about Kushner, but we do know that a whistleblower filed a complaint in May of 2025, alleging that Tulsi Gabbard restricted the distribution of this report. Now, instead of following the protocol where the NSA would distribute its intelligence report, Tulsi Gabbard, allegedly brought a paper copy to the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, and directed the NSA to transmit the details to her office rather than publishing it. That complaint has been locked in a safe for 8 months. Congress apparently got access to it last week, but even Congress's copy of the report is heavily redacted. Tulsi Gabbard is sitting on something. She's a fucking spy. The far left, by the way, I'm looking at you. Those of you who fell in love with Tulsi Gabbard, you fell for a foreign op. It's been very clear since the beginning that Tulsi Gabbard has been in positions of power to undermine. I mean, she's in a cult. What else do you need to know? She's been utilizing positions of power to benefit foreign operations. It's very clear. And now she's locking a report up in a safe. I saw an interview with the whistleblower's attorney, Andrew Bakaj. He's accused Gabbard of obstructing his client's ability to communicate directly with the congressional committee. And so what the government is doing is they're basically saying, like, yeah, we've got your whistleblower report, but it would be a shame if any of those details got out, because then you would be leaking classified information, and then we'd have to prosecute you for leaking classified information. So they're literally, it's a sword of Damocles being held over this witness's head. He has important information. He's followed the procedure correctly. Congress is not even able to see the report because it's so heavily redacted. Even the Gang of Eight can't see this. This is why we're supposed to have congressional oversight. The pattern here is people protecting, hiding. Tulsi Gabbard is a spy. I don't care. She's a spy. Like, it couldn't be more obvious. Prove otherwise. Release the report. Until we see the report, the only conclusion we can logically draw is that Tulsi Gabbard is hiding something from the American people to benefit a foreign government. And the best case scenario, by the way, the best case scenario of that is that she's just doing it to hide something for Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner, who got $2 billion from the Saudis for his little financial operation, which has not made any money, by the way. But he's made $112 million, Jared Kushner. His $2 billion has made zero profit, and it's apparently doing so great, they had to get another $1.5 billion. So now it's $3.5 billion, of which he's raking in massive fees. They've got him over there being some kind of special East envoy, a volunteer for the government. And something happened. Some foreign intelligence officials got on a phone, said something pretty fucking salacious about Jared Kushner. That was, if verified, would be significant. That's our own intelligence community. And Tulsi Gabbard, who got her hands on ballots in Georgia, what the fuck are we doing? We need to see that report. We need to know what it's about. Let's get on to the next story. Do you see why you got to follow the Ignition News now? Do you see why you're not hearing about this? You're not hearing about this on these other outlets. And they're certainly too afraid to tell you the truth. Speaking of cabinet secretaries, let's talk about Kristi Noem. The Wall Street Journal has a pretty devastating report about Kristi Noem, her abuse of power. Let's start with the personal stuff because it's pretty. Speaking of salacious, we know that Kristi Noem and Lewandowski, Corey Lewandowski, are supposedly having some kind of romantic affair. They're both married to other people. They have denied it, but it's apparently pretty hard to hide. It's pretty obvious for everyone. You have tabloid photos of Lewandowski going back and forth between his apartment and Lewandowski's. After those photos came out, Noah moved into a government owned waterfront house on a military base. President Trump reportedly wanted to make Lewandowski Noam's chief of staff, but rejected the idea specifically because of reports about their relationship. So they've made Lewandowski a special government employee. They've opened an inquiry into Lewandowski's abuse of his power, and we know that he's been involved with DHS operations as well. But Kristi Noem is spending like a drunken sailor. She's got these private jets that she's flying around in. ICE is burning through cash. So here's what we got. They're using a luxury 737 MAX with a private cabin for their travel. DHS is in the process of acquiring it for $70 million. She apparently fired someone because they forgot her blanket on a plane. The secretary of the head of the DHS, Kristi Noem, fired someone because he forgot a blanket. Noem routinely berates her staff. She apparently has, gotten mad at her staff that Tom Homan is getting on the news more than him. On at least one occasion, we know she asked aides to ensure she drew a bigger crowd at a conference than Noem. You see her in these little cabinet meetings with her little costumes. There's a bunch of senior administration officials that told the Journal that she is the biggest headache of the second term. And they're pretty angry that Noem and Lewandowski have decided to take all this money and apparently filter it to all their friends and family. This is what happens when you put incompetent people in charge. You get Ice Barbie firing someone because they left a blanket, spending money like a drunken sailor, refusing to keep us safe. By the way, forgetting about FEMA. If you are a citizen of, I'm gonna take off my little angry liberationist hat right now. Forget all of that. If you are a United States citizen in the Deep South and you have been ravaged by a hurricane and you need help from your government, Kristi Noem is failing you. She's a traitor. She's a traitor to you. She betrayed you. You can't get a check from FEMA because your house was destroyed by a natural disaster. It's because Ice Barbie is running around with her little selfie stick. And she betrayed you. And you voted for it, most likely, I'm sorry to say. So if you're sitting in a house rotting from mold and stench, the stench of festering rot from a hurricane that swept sewer water into your basement, if you have basements, I don't know how that works there. It's because she is running around with a little cowboy hat, taking photo ops in a 737 that cost $70 million. How many of you, your neighbors, your friends, and family could have had your homes fixed by now? But let me be very clear. Even though I'm angry with you because you're an idiot and you voted for this, even though it was all right there for you to see, it was an open book test, I still feel sorry for you. And I still want you to have a good life. And I still want you to get your house fixed. And it enrages me. That's the thing about being a liberationist. That's the thing about being a rebel, is you realize that sometimes you have to save people who didn't want you to save them, who might well be happier if you didn't even exist, which I hear all the time, by the way. And even though you might think that of me, even though you might hate me, even though you might say little slurs about me, about us, I still want you to get your house fixed. But you know who doesn't want you to get your house fixed? Kristi fucking Noem. Ice Barbie. She's spending your money on a 737 MAX, flying around with Corey Lewandowski, a married woman, a married man, cheating on their spouses with your fucking tax dollars. When you go to Sunday in your deep red Bible Belt South and you praise to God and you praise Jesus for all that he's bestowed upon you, and you go back to your house rotting with the festering stink of mold, if you can even go in your house, if you're not staying in some shitty motel because your house was destroyed by a hurricane, I want you to think about that on Sunday. Think about what God would say about a woman gallivanting around the country with her boyfriend, both married to other people, while you suffer and while they tear babies apart from their parents and ship them off to detention centers, concentration camps, American concentration camps. I want you to think about that. And the last thing I want you to think about is the words of Jesus Christ himself. I'm getting on my commentary bit. You know, I wouldn't consider myself a religious person. But as I've been studying how we fight fascism in this era, one of the things about fighting fascism, about any battle, is you have to understand what you're up against. And one of the things that we're up against as liberationists, as we're trying to liberate this country from fascism, is we're up against people who are in cults, political cults, religious cults, work cults. And so to understand the challenge that I was facing, I started to learn about the words of religious figures, resistance figures, Jesus. And what I've learned is the great hypocrisy of the deep red religious South. I am not a religious figure. My judgment means nothing to you, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. I'm on it. I'm being honest with you. But I want you to consider what a righteous, holy person would think of these times. What a righteous, good, godly person would think. What Jesus would do in these times. Because I can tell you what I think. I've studied. I think Jesus would be standing in front of those camps. I think Jesus would be standing on the protest lines. I think he would be flipping tables. I think he would be healing the sick children in those camps, demanding that they be released. I think he would be saying, why are you feeding children food with worms in it in detention centers? Why are you not letting them get medical care? Why have you separated this baby from its mother? He would be asking those questions. And maybe you know more about God than I do. I'm willing to acknowledge that. But I think there's a part of you that knows if somehow he found you to hear listening to this, well, maybe that's your sign after all. From one righteous bearded man to another righteous bearded man, I believe you can be better than this. I do. And if I can forgive you and the things that you did after all the things you say about me, you wouldn't imagine the things people say about me. The death threats, sexualization, they say the most perverted things. When they can't win an argument with me, they say some kind of sexualization. That's how it goes always. Threats to my safety, my family. The governor of Nevada sent 2 armed men to my house to threaten my wife on a Saturday at a garage sale because I made a video about him. And after all of that, what I learned from studying your Jesus was to do good with the time that I have, to love with the time that I have, to build with the time that I have, to connect with the time that I have, to forgive with the time that I have, because the time that I have is very short. And the time that we have to stop this fascism is also very short. But it can be done. It must be done. Liberation is about saving, healing, protecting, educating, and loving. Yes, I must admit. And the thing about it, the last thing I will say, is I think that the thing that a lot of you are actually missing is everything I just said. But most of all, I think you're missing real love. I think something has happened. I think something has broken this country. Not I think, I know. We all know. I'm not saying something that's shocking right now. Something has broken this country, which has turned us against each other. Brother against brother, cousin against cousin, neighbor against neighbor, state against state, city against city. And it's very sad. But if I can model forgiveness, if I can help you in your home ravaged by a hurricane, or if you can help a neighbor, or if you can recognize, by the way, then your deep red southern town, your favorite place to go eat on a Sunday is the Chinese buffet in your deep red southern town. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I grew up in this town, Moorhead, Minnesota, by Fargo, North Dakota. 95% white, 90% Christian. You don't understand it when you're in it. You don't see diversity when you don't see diversity. You are afraid of it. You become afraid of what you don't know. But I look back at that time at my youth, all of the pockets and times that I were exposed to small little bits of diversity in a 95% white community. They were all positive experiences. They were all good experiences. Why do you think they're scaring you? Why do they think they are trying to make you hate these people? Why do you think they're trying to make you think that putting these people in cages, in concentration camps, is the solution to your problems? They're building warehouses. Pam Bondi acknowledged that with NSPM 7, they are tracking your neighbors and calling them terrorists. Your neighbors. And they're building the camps in your backyards now. Human beings in buildings designed for packages. You can hate me for my views. You can hate me because I want to support trans people. You can hate me because I'm a dirty leftist. You can hate me because I have a beard. You can hate me because I'm not your religion. But you can love your neighbor like your God taught you to do. You can stand on the line and protect and prevent this cruelty. The thing about what has happened in all of the legacies of cruelty in all of our generations is people look back at the worst of it and they say, I can't believe no one stopped them. Right now, today in America, they are building warehouses. They are leasing warehouses to put human beings in. They are concentration camps. And if you think about the worst of it, right now in some town, somewhere in some deep south, there's some man who got up this morning and put on a suit and put on a tie and slicked his hair back, got in his Buick or his Cadillac or his Lexus, and he drove and he met someone. He met someone who works for the government. They met outside of a warehouse. He toured a warehouse, 6,000, 7,000, 20,000, 50,000 square feet of warehouse. And he knew from the moment he woke up to the moment he signs his name on that line, he knows that he is selling someone, leasing someone, giving someone space to put human beings. And most certainly, in one corner or tile or space or place of that building, someone is going to die. Someone that does not have to die, even if it is one person. And tonight, that man will go home and sit around the table, look at his children, look at his wife, and before they eat, they will pray to God. Evil is everywhere around us, and it is easy to imagine that the evil person is the orange man with rotting flesh, or the Secretary of State, or the Secretary of Homeland Security, or the Attorney General, or the Director of the FBI, or Elon Musk, or Peter Thiel. It is easy to see them as evil. They have designed it that way exactly. It is much harder to look at the man who goes home and has dinner with his family, knowing full well that he just sold the government a warehouse to kill people. That is evil. But you're not here now at the end of this show, this time we spent together, because you're evil. You're not here because you are cascading darkness or hate or fear. You're here because you're a light. And even though this fierce wind of hatred and evil tries to blow out the candle of your lightness, you hold strong. You build community, you find your family, you find connection. When you go home. When you wake up, when you slick your hair back, just remember you made a choice. And we always say on Rebel Radio, host of the Ignition News, hope. Hope is a verb. People always say have hope. Have a nice day. Have a safe trip. Have a safe journey. Have a happy birthday. Have hope. But you can't have hope. You have to do hope. Hope is a verb. You have to do hope in your town, in your community, in your city council. You have to do hope at the post office. You have to do hope when you call your congressperson. You have to do hope for the person who hates you and doesn't want you to be here. But you have to do hope nonetheless. That's our show, everybody. It's February 13th. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I hope you find someone to love. We'll see you tomorrow.